Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Anime Figure Archive. I'm Senpai, and here in front of me we have Pokemon Trainer Red, the champion version where he has all 3 starters in their final evolution. And out of all the figures that I own, this is the only male figure in my entire collection. He is very sentimental to me. Back in 2018, myself, Kohai, and one of our best friends and roommate got to go to the Pokemon Worlds Championship, and this was a pretty tumultuous part of my life. This was one of the first times we really got to go out and enjoy ourselves. And at the Pokemon Center there, I was able to buy him at retail for 100 USD. Many of you might recognize that this is a Nendoroid, and if you haven't been around a Nendoroid, they are quite small. Here is a Coke can for scale. Now, I'm not opposed to buying male figures, it's just that when I spend money, sometimes hundreds of dollars, I want it to be interesting and appealing to me, so I tend to gravitate towards female figures. But I do have a wish list of male figures from some of my favorite animes, such as this Lelouch here from Code Geass, this Edward and Alphonse from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, and most recently, since we've been doing the Papa Parade series, this Papa Parade XL of Gurren Lagann, particularly if you pair him with the regular size Simone. I think this looks fantastic. So now let's rewind to the middle of last year when I stumbled upon this figure for pre-order. I'm most certainly a Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z fan. It is the first anime that I ever fell in love with, way before I even knew what anime was. And I think many millennials can share that same sentiment. I don't own any Dragon Ball figures yet. I've actually bought many for other people, but I haven't found one that's really spoken to me, especially since I like so many different characters and so many different forms. So when I saw this was very visually stimulating for me. I do like Goku. He's a beautiful moron, but he's one of my first heroes when growing up. And here we kind of get 4 figures in one, right? We have a really cool composition with him in his child form from Dragon Ball flying up front on the Flying Nimbus. We have his regular adult form, Super Saiyan form, and Super Saiyan 3. It's also displayed really nicely, kind of reminds me of a resin, has the mane down below. And I think this is a really cool display piece. In fact, I visualize it in my office. Something I can put on the shelf that's nerdy, but definitely safe for work. I figured this would be fun for us to take a look at since that's quite different than what we do on Kohai's collection. It has an extremely dumb name. It's called Puchirama DX Dracap Rebirth 01, which I have no idea what that means. It's by Mega House. It's a non-scale figure and only costs 8,250 yen and is still currently available on AmiAmi. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Starting with the paint, wait. The fuck is this shit? It's so small.
That's what she said.
Well, 12 years of collecting and still making mistakes. I guess this is the first time I've ordered a true non-scale figure in quite some time. The photos just look so good. I was caught up by the price tag. I probably should have second guessed why it was 8,000 yen, but I don't know, Dragon Ball Z stuff isn't really that expensive in the age of Chinese figures, just kind of hoping it was a Chinese thing. But it just looked so cool, and it kind of looked like a resin statue. So imagine my surprise when I opened the AmiAmi box, and I see this tiny cardboard box inside. I have no idea what it is. I pop that out, and when I pull it up, inside is this tiny little box, maybe bigger than a Funko Pop box. So yeah, this is what we got now. I definitely want to throw this on our yen per gram scale to see if this is a good value for how much plastic we're getting here. Definitely haven't been this disappointed by first impression of a figure in quite some time, albeit it's my own fault. Let's dive right in. Oh boy. Well, gosh dang it. It's so fucking small. All right. Well, at least there is a lot going on here. We do have 4 different characters, and because it is so small, I'll probably have to show you them individually, but I'll try to do my best to get them all in focus since it is quite difficult. But as we go around it, first impression's not good. There's many aspects of this that are definitely prize level quality. But in that same vein, there's also a lot more shading than I would have anticipated. So starting with Son Goku up here, there is shading on the Flying Nimbus. You can see here the purple underneath is not lying from the studio. This is intentional. Decal is set very nicely. With adult Goku, I do not see any shading here. For Super Saiyan Goku, we do see orange highlights in the hair towards the top and in the front. The power-up energy does have a orange fade at the tips. And then moving on to Super Saiyan Goku 3, we once again see a little bit of orange highlights in the hair, and there actually is a nice fade on his uniform. Probably the worst area of paint and most noticeable is going to be in Super Saiyan Goku's hair here. It's just very clumpy, so this is kind of what I was meaning when I was saying prize figure quality. Lots of clump and unevenness in the hair paint itself. There is no shading anywhere on the skin in this figure. And always give credit where credit is due. The best looking figure here is definitely Super Saiyan Goku 3. His hair is the cleanest, has shading in it because of the orange, and the fade on the alpha looks really nice and clean. And even though it's not very clean overall, my favorite paint aesthetic is definitely the Flying Nimbus here. That pink at the bottom gives it a ton of life, makes it really accurate to the series, and I love how that stands out. It literally looks like the lighting is coming from our studio. So unfortunately, the paint just kind of is what it is. It's a step above most prize figures. It's prize figures in the level of clumpiness that we see, like here in Super Saiyan Goku's hair, but I am impressed with a lot of the fade details that they have, some of the accents, and the level of shading that we're getting from something that's this tiny. So I'll give it a 2 out of 5. The sculpt itself, in terms of design, I think is absolutely fantastic. Having 4 characters like this together in a way that is exciting and meshes together, especially if they don't have legs, for example, is really difficult to do, and I think they nailed it. It's what really drew me to this figure in the first place. But when we talk about the modeling quality itself, we're back to that prize figure level. And that's namely due to the massive amount of parting lines and flashing that we see on this figure, such as the lines here on the Nimbus, followed by an absurd amount in Super Saiyan Goku. You can see it all over the front here and up in this area, and it's all over the sides of all of his spikes. Similar story for Super Saiyan Goku 3 with a real bad part line here and almost on every single spike, whether it's on the side or running down the length. Another look at the parting lines and seams on the Nimbus. And as expected, when we get down to this really small size, the hair can start looking really clumpy as it loses that definition, but the decals are set really nicely on every face on this figure. Here's Super Saiyan Goku's, Super Saiyan 3 Goku, though the one that actually feels off is regular adult Goku, and that's because they're kind of cheating this angle, so when looking down below, it's kind of out of place. But as you get closer to the intended angle, you can see it starts to make a little more sense. They have done a good job of decals, such as the Kami House logo. And I find the modeling of the Dragon Ball Z logo to be really good. The missteps here are more related to paint. In summary, the sculpt as a design is incredible, but the sculpt in terms of modeling and finish leaves a lot to be desired, though it is impressive for this scale. But if 3 is an average scale figure, I do have to give this a 2 out of 5. The base itself, I do adore. There's a lot going on here. I think overall it's very clean. It brings a lot to the figure, tells the series that it's at, really makes this look like a giant resin statue, even though it's not, and is significantly better than many of the scale bases that we have. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4 out of 5. Regarding artistry, this is Goku in 3D form. It is absolutely spot on for everyone except for maybe adult Goku here. But the expression here on Son Goku is wonderful. They've captured a lot of energy of Super Saiyan Goku, and very much have captured that intimidating stance of Super Saiyan Goku 3. So I think this really captures the spirit of Akira Toriyama's characters. You see the goofy side and the fun, whimsical side of Dragon Ball, as well as the more intense fighting side of Dragon Ball Z. So I've definitely got to give it a 5 out of 5. And for value, I definitely want to start out by getting it on our yen per gram scale. It weighs 234 grams and costs 8,250 yen. This gives it a price per gram of 35.26. So it just barely misses out being in the top 70th percentile, which would have been a 4 out of 5 on our objective value scale. By the way, all of this data has been available to you all in our descriptions if you ever want to check out where we're pulling this data from. So it's always nice to objectively confirm that we are getting a good volume of plastic for our money. I did pay the 8,250 yen that you saw on AmiAmi, and I was able to combine the shipping with other figures, so the shipping costs on this were minuscule. And although I do see the value here, I am still kind of upset by the scale of this. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to display this in my collection and where it fits. I do wish it was larger. I would have been happy to pay more to get a larger scale. But for my collection, after having it here and seeing it, it doesn't really fit the aesthetic of my collection, and I would return it if I could. And because of that, I don't see much value here, so I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. And I hope you did enjoy seeing this at my expense, of course. It is going to get the Dragon Small Z award. It is so much smaller than I anticipated. That is completely my own fault. I see now where it says that it was only 13 centimeters tall. Yeah, I just can't believe I got so fooled by that. Love the design though. I would have happily loved to have seen this at like a 1/8 scale, which in my head was what I was picturing this was going to be. The price should have been a red flag, but I'd never bought a Dragon Ball Z figure before, and the ones that I had bought for friends had always been really cheap. So I assumed it just didn't really have the waifu tax and was maybe Chinese, but I didn't notice that it was Mega House. I don't know. I saw the design, fell in love with it, bought it more or less without thinking, forgot about it, showed up, and now it's here. I don't know what to do with it. It is small, so that's probably maybe gonna go to my office and maybe just sit as a desk ornament. I think if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan and you don't mind the size of this and you don't mind that $60 USD price, that you will appreciate what this is. I think it'll fit great alongside maybe lots of other Dragon Ball Z trinkets if you have that kind of collection. Next time Mega House, I hope you can give us the option for like a 1/8 scale. I think the design is absolutely fantastic, and limiting all that work to just this small scale is rather disappointing. It would look like it would be a resin statue, which could be a centerpiece of someone's collection. This was a lot of fun, and I am glad that I at least got to present this to you all. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care.